Well, hello everybody, and a very warm welcome to this webinar for the Princess Royal Training Awards, looking particularly at evidence and how you make your evidence work for you. These, of course, are an evidence-based awards, so we're delighted that you've been able to join us today on this webinar. If you've got questions at any time, please type them on the box on the right-hand side of the screen, and we will do our best to answer them before the end of the webinar, or if we can't, we will email and contact you personally to go through them. Well, I'm Michael Osbaldeston. I work with the Princess Royal Training Awards team here at the City and Guilds Group in the centre of London, and we're joined today, I'm pleased to say, by a colleague, Fenella Tallon, who's the Deputy Chief Assessor for the awards. Hello, Fenella.
Hello, Michael. Nice to see you today.
Good, you found the mute button. That's good. Glad you've been able to join us from sunny Brighton. So yes, lovely to have you with us today, and we're going to be using your expertise to help those who are applying for the awards understand a little bit more about what sort of evidence they need to put into the awards. So what are we going to do over the next half an hour? Well, we're going to tell you one or two things which are new for 2019. We're going to explore about relevant evidence, and we're going to discuss what the assessors are looking for and share some top tips. And of course, we're here to answer your questions. And as you know, the team is very supportive of you all in helping you make the best possible application. Just before we start, these awards are about catching you in, not catching you out. We want to help you celebrate the very best of training and learning and development so we can showcase that and get royal recognition for it. So we're not looking to pick faults, we're looking to help you tell your story. So what's new for 2019? Well, first of all, we've got a slightly different application form to last year. We've simplified it, and we think that's quite important. We stripped the application form out from the application planner, following the feedback that we got from lots of the people who entered last year. And the planning document, the application planner, is a really good way of putting the application together before cutting and pasting into the application form. And within that planner, there are all sorts of guidance notes and suggestions, and hopefully you'll find that a useful tool. It also has the criteria and the marks, and it explains exactly what we're looking for in terms of the application form. Now, if you haven't got that already, you can download it from the Princess Royal Training Award website, and I'd really recommend that you do that, because that's a great tool in terms of building your application. If you applied before, you'll notice, in fact, in Hallmark 1, we've reversed the questions. So the first question is now about the program that you're putting forwards for recognition. The second part of Hallmark 1 is about the environment that it sits in, the nature of your organisation and your commitment to training. Just a slight tweak, again, following the feedback from applicants. What do you want to tell us most about? You want to tell us about your program. So we said, right, the first thing you need to do is tell us about your program. So just reflecting on what people came back with in terms of feedback last year. The hallmarks that we use, the 3 hallmarks, are actually helping you to tell your story. In essence, it's why you did what you did, how you did it, and what was the impact. And it's all around these 3 hallmarks of excellence. So these are the things to focus on, and these are the things that the application form focuses on. So first of all, we're looking at that training and learning and development is integral to your organisation. And we use the words training and learning development in a very loose way. We can't find a single word that describes upskilling or reskilling staff or putting people through some development opportunity. So don't be too literal about those words. They're just the words we use to try and describe taking people on a journey, so at the end of it they have skills they hadn't got at the beginning. The second hallmark's all about the program design and how it was delivered and whether it was efficient, hopefully, and effective. If it wasn't effective, you probably wouldn't be on the webinar. And the third hallmark is the one that really is the crunch point, that the program has had an impact on the success both of the organization and your people. So those are the 3 hallmarks, and it's around those 3 hallmarks that we ask you to present your evidence as part of your application for the Princess Royal Training Award. Now, Fenella, you're Deputy Chief Assessor. You work with a team of professional assessors and people who will look through and read all the application forms. Tell us a bit about the importance of providing the right evidence, please.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Evidence is absolutely crucial to your application because it actually supports the statements that you're making in each of the hallmarks when you fill in your application form. Because as Michael was saying earlier, these are an evidence-based awards. So we're looking for the evidence to back up what you've said. And if you've not really got any evidence, then that is going to be a stumbling block for you. Also, the paper-based application form is the first step in the application process. And if your application makes it through that step, then we actually come and visit you in your organisation. So the application and the evidence that you include in the application is really important to encourage the assessors to want to come and visit you and to get you through to that next stage, which we call the validation visit, which we'll talk about a bit later. And also the evidence helps the assessor team to see if you have met the standard, because the awards are actually, they're not a competition. It isn't the best wins or the top 3 win. It's everybody who meets the standard will get the award. So that's what the evidence helps us to ascertain. The evidence, as I said before, it should support the statements that you've said in the written part of your application. So if you can back up the statements that you've made by perhaps using charts or graphs to show us, say, the before and the after picture of the training, that's the sort of things that we're looking for in the evidence. And it helps us to understand the bigger picture, because we do know that the word count in the application is quite tight. So the evidence allows you to show a bit more through that part of the application. Also, it helps the assessors to find out more about your organisation and what you've achieved. And then when we visit you, we can actually dig deeper a bit into that evidence, and we can actually see some of it in real life. It also brings your application to life, because we know, it's always difficult to write something, and the evidence part allows you to include charts and graphs and non-word based evidence that would help to bring it to life for the assessor team. Also, you do need to include or tell us that there's evidence within your application, because we need to have a reference to it, and then we can ask you more about it when we come to visit. If you haven't actually said that you've got a piece of evidence in the application, we can't actually then ask you more about it at the visit. And we have had that happen in the past, where the application itself hasn't contained some of the evidence, but you had lots of wonderful evidence at the visit that we couldn't actually then take into account because it hadn't been mentioned in the application form. So the visit, what happens? This is the best part of the application process for the assessor team, because we get the chance to actually meet you, to come and see you and your colleagues, to come and talk to your learners, to find out what they've learned and how they're putting it into practice. And also we do look at the evidence that you've mentioned in your application. We do ask to see that it actually exists, and sometimes we ask you to talk us through it. Sometimes there are sort of complex financial pieces of data or other data that we like you to explain to us when we come and see you. But don't forget to mention the evidence in the application, and then we can ask you more about it at the
Fenella,
visit.
can I just chip in and ask a question from our end? Can you give us a couple of practical examples of the sort of evidence you'd be looking for, say in Hallmark 3, the one that looks at the impact on an organisation and its people?
Yes, yeah, certainly. What we're looking at in the impact is the impact that this has had on your people and on your organisation. So an example may be that you have improved your employee engagement, or you have improved your profitability, if that's what you wanted to do. And it would help if we could see the before and the after picture. So if you could show us comparative data, perhaps in a form of a chart or a graph, that will really help us see where you came from and where you've got to.
I think an important part of that question is that we ask people to say what's important to them. So we're not dictating either what the evidence is or what the measure should be, but we're asking people to say what were you aiming to achieve and how did you measure that you achieved it, aren't we? I mean, that's again, yes, fundamental absolutely. Part of the awards. It's not us dictating what's important, it's people deciding what's important to them and what they were seeking to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're not prescriptive in this at all. It's completely up to you.
So, Fenella, what should you do and what shouldn't you do?
Right, yeah, hopefully these will be useful do's and don'ts. Do keep the evidence relevant. So it's backing up what you've said in each of the hallmarks. So please do keep it relevant. Michael will tell us a bit later about the limits to the evidence. Also keep it focused. And tell us if there's more evidence to see at the visit. So you may want to give an example of a quote from an employee engagement survey that you've done, and you can indicate there are more quotes or more testimonials from staff that are available at the visit, and that's absolutely fine. We can then dig deeper into that information when we see you. And also, as I was saying before, don't forget to tell us that there is some evidence to see, and then we can ask you more about it if you get through to the visit stage. Also, don't repeat what you say in the text, because we do have one assessor who's looking at your whole application, so they will read through everything, so you don't need to repeat anything. And also try not to attach things that might not be specifically relevant to your application, because again, you have got a word count in the evidence, which Michael will tell you about. We have actually had in the past people attaching their whole annual report or their whole L&D strategy, and although that contains really good information within it, we need to see the specific information that is relevant to the application, not the whole of it, if that makes sense.
Yes, I'll go into that in a bit more detail now, Fenella, because there are limits to the amount of evidence you can attach, and in essence, you can attach one document per hallmark, so that's 3 in total, and each attachment can be no more than 2 megabytes or 500 words, and I'm afraid we can't look at external links. So how on earth do you do that in an application form? Well, as Fenella said earlier, the trick is to give snippets of information, quotes from business plans, quotes from the learners, quotes from the managers, use a little part of a graph or a table or a bit of the financial report on each of those pages, because what the assessor is doing is looking at that page and seeing a number of areas that are being evidenced, and then when they come to do the validation visit, they can delve more deeply into that evidence. So you're just giving us a snapshot. It's really the top of an iceberg that you're showing us at that point. Don't have to tell us everything, because that's not possible, but we do want to see snippets to show that there is more beyond it. And like I say, during the validation visit, the assessors and the City and Guilds Group Ambassador will delve more deeply into the evidence that you present to underpin what you said in your statement. So there has to be a limit, because it means there's a level playing field. It means everybody's got the same opportunity to apply for an award. And just again to repeat what Fenella said, you're not in competition with each other. So in fact, we've done a whole series of workshops around the awards, and it's really interesting when we get the message across that you're only competing against what you sought to achieve. And any number of organisations can achieve the standard of the Princess Royal Training Awards. So it might be 5, 10, 15, 45, 50. There's no limit on the number of organisations that can get the award, because we're looking for organisations who have reached a standard. So you might be a small community radio station in Scotland, or you may be a multinational bank. It doesn't matter. because it's what you're trying to achieve through training and learning and development, and whether you can evidence the impact that it's had both on the organisation and the people. So limited amounts of evidence can be attached intentionally, but the assessors can delve deeply. If you imagine the application form is a box, and it's a very, very deep box, so the assessors can delve deeply into the box, but when they come on the visit, they can't go outside the box to bring in new evidence. And it's also worth saying, we haven't said it so far, is that if you don't get as far as validation visit, and we obviously hope you all do, you do get very detailed feedback on your application. We know it takes time and effort to apply for one of these awards. There is no cost. The cost is all covered by the City and Guilds Group. We're a royal charter body. We're a charity. We have, this is part of our responsibility to share and encourage best practicing skills. So we don't charge anything for application. We don't charge anything for the award ceremony. That's all part of what we do, and we know that you're committing time and effort. And our quid quo pro on that, our repayment on that, is you will get very good feedback, detailed feedback, if you don't progress through to the rather wonderful event that happens later in the year when the awards are presented. So, Fenella, let's just recap. I mean, we talked general about things. Just go through a few more examples, please, and how they tie in to how applicants can underpin the stories that they're telling, please.
Yes, here we've got some examples on the slide of things that you may want to include. You don't have to include all these things, but these are just to give you a guide. You may have business metrics that you want to share with us to show where you were and then where you got to. Also, charts and graphs are a really good pictorial way for the assessors to see in a glance what you've achieved, and as Michael was saying before, can we have sort of snippets that are relevant to the hallmarks? Also statistics, if you've got some statistics available. These don't actually have to be from your organisation. You may have some market data that's relevant, or you may have some for your specific sector that are relevant to show perhaps if there's a problem in or a difficulty in recruiting staff. You may want, and that data is available from your sector. That's absolutely fine to include data from elsewhere. Also, if you've perhaps entered other awards or you've had feedback from perhaps management consultants or anything like that, you can include those sorts of information from external sources. Also, we very much like testimonials from staff, because there is part of the application form that we're looking for the learner voice, so your staff employee voice, to show what they've learned. So sometimes just a simple quote from an employee can speak volumes in terms of what they've learned, and also we can, if you have got further information, then we can go on to see that at the visit. And we can also talk to those staff as well at the visit. So the testimonial gives us a little taster of what's been achieved. And the same for testimonials from customers as well. If what you were trying to achieve was improve customer satisfaction, and then you're able to actually quantify that with data, you can actually qualify it as well with testimonials.
Just picking up on the statistics, Fenella, it's really important to provide a baseline, particularly if people are using percentages, isn't it? So if there's an industry standard and you're way advanced from it, then showing those statistics together can be very powerful, those comparable statistics, or the both before and the after.
Yes, absolutely. Because the assessor team, we have many different specialisms within the team, but your assessor won't necessarily be a specialist in your sector. So you do need to be aware of that and include any sector baseline data where you have that, and also baseline data from your own organisation as well. Anything to avoid? Okay. Yes, there are things to avoid. hyperlinks, although you may have some fantastic information that you want to share through hyperlinks, I'm afraid we won't be able to look at those. But you can actually refer in your application, say if you've got a video or some information, say photos that you want to show us when we come, that's absolutely fine. We can look at them there. We just can't access any hyperlinks through the application. So yes, also no photos. We do like to see the learners' faces, but then we can actually see them when we arrive. So please don't include any photos or videos in the body of the application form or as evidence, because we won't be able to look at those. But please do reference them, and that's absolutely fine. So don't forget, yes.
Each of the hallmarks in the application form can have one piece of evidence attached to it, and that's really important. There are examples in the planner, so it's well worth looking at the planner, well worth looking at the application form and seeing the evidence and seeing suggestions for the sort of evidence you might want to attach, because that's often a really good guide to the things that the assessors are looking for. And also, when you look, you see the criteria and you see the marks, and the assessors have no more information than you have. It's based purely on what's on the application form. So these are really transparent awards. We don't hide anything. There's no hidden agenda, really. If you've got questions, don't forget you can email them to us now. You can send us questions, or you can email the team at any time, or give us a ring, and we're more than happy to discuss any queries or questions you might have. I know we've had phone calls with a number of people, in fact met a number of people who are on the webinar at the various workshops. We are here to help you succeed. We're not here to hinder, we're not here to find fault, but we're here to try and drive success. So some top tips. I think clarity is always good. So using clear headlines to describe the information that you're presenting to the assessors. Put yourself in the mind of the assessor. Imagine that the application form's been put on your desk and you've got to read it. How would you like it to look? And what would tell the best story? And you are telling us a story. You're taking us on a journey. You're taking us on a journey that we understand your organization, we understand the initiative that you've established because of either a need or an opportunity. You've shown us the development of a plan and the implementation of that training and development plan, and you've taken us on the journey through evaluating it and the impact it's had on the people and on the organization. So clear headlines. Do copy and paste extracts from lengthy documents. Like in the first year, we didn't have a limit, and we still got one assessor still assessing. I think there were somebody sent in 70 odd attachments. Well, it's not fair on everybody else, really. It certainly wasn't fair on the assessor. So we have to make it equal for everybody. Little snips and graphs and screen grabs are great ways of filling that page up. What you're trying to do is tease Fenella and her team to come to your organisation and have a look. That's what it's all about at this stage. Tell the story in such a way to make the assessors think, actually, this looks really good. We want to come and find out more about this. So that's the job of the application form. If you need to, use colour. I mean, you don't have to do everything in black and white. The assessors like a bit of colour in their lives. So do, whatever you need to do to tell your story and to lift the message that you're getting across. But please, please, please keep it short, keep it concise, and make it easy to read. So, Fenella, do you want to summarise?
Yes, please. Yes, this slide summarised. Put simply, yes, it's the why, it's the how, and it's the what. And these reflect the hallmarks. So hallmark 1 describes why did you do it? Hallmark 2 is how did you do it? So how did you design it? How did you develop it? And then finally, the most importantly, hallmark 3, what was the impact? Was it what you expected? Was it better? Were there some unexpected outcomes? But we need to know what it was that you achieved. And don't forget that the evidence that you provide for each of those hallmarks, the why, the how, and the what, is actually your audit trail. So you can actually have a record of the changes that have taken place in your organisation. So you can say, right, we started here, we wanted to get to there, and actually this was our journey. And it might be quite a useful tool for you to have to audit actually what you've done. So yes, I hope that was helpful.
That audit trail is so important, isn't it, Fenella, in taking people on that journey and making sure that it's making sure that what you claim is actually, it's been caused by the thing that you say it's been caused by. So it's making sure that there is a genuine link between what's said and in fact what's claimed. So it's tying those various things together, which is important. Now I'm pleased to say that Julia, one of our colleagues who runs our alumni, because one of the benefits of getting the Princess Royal Training Award is you become part of a community of excellence that shares best practice amongst itself. And in fact, we had River Island and John Lewis in just before Christmas doing a brilliant presentation on the use of digital in the retail sector. Julia is, as I speak, she is typing and answering the questions directly, which is probably easier than trying to do them over the webinar. So all your questions will be answered in due course. And like I say, we are very keen to encourage you to contact us. Remi is actually in the room with me. She's looking after the technology, ably as ever. Laura up in York is one of our colleagues who looks after a lot of the marketing, and you may well have spoken to Laura. She's the person who rings around and makes sure everybody is doing okay in their application form. The team works really well in terms of support. We're keen to support. We are gathering through the organisations that have achieved a Princess Royal Training Award an amazing body of evidence of the impact that training and developing people has on organisations, ranging from small community radio stations through to multinational banks, through to major charities, and through to high street shops and household names. And that body of knowledge, that body of evidence of impact, is incredibly powerful, and we're keen to share that and to encourage other people to learn from it. So the alumni that we gather together once you get the awards is a really quite powerful group of organisations. And if you've looked on our website and you've seen an organisation that's addressed an issue that's common to one you're facing, we're very happy to put you in touch so you can learn from the people who've already done it. So stop reinventing wheels. If there are wheels that roll well, let them roll well. We're very happy to make those introductions and to say, well, look, there's somebody there who's doing the same problem we've got. How did they address it? How did they address that opportunity? And I can tell you that the people who get the awards are only too happy to talk and share them, which is fantastic. So we've done most of the questions. I'm just checking with Remi if we've got any questions which Julia hasn't managed to respond to.
I think Julia is doing brilliantly answering the questions, but I just thought that it may be a good idea actually to read out some of the questions out, so for others.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Can you read them, Remi? Because I can't see them.
Yes, I can see one here. Someone was asking about referencing videos, and they asked, should that be referenced in the body or in the evidence bit?
Fenella, what do you think on that one? Where would you reference the video if we're going to watch it at the validation visit?
I would reference it in the body of the text, actually, within the hallmarks, because I think the evidence bit is actually a dedicated attachment. So it's probably easier just to do a really short reference to it in the body of the text.
Yeah, that sounds a good idea. Any other questions on there, Remi, that you want to read out in the last couple of minutes?
Should you attach evidence as an attachment or add it in the text?
Oh, right. Yes. No, it's an attachment. So if you apply online, on the online system, it offers you the option to attach evidence in the online system. If you do it on a Word document, which you're very welcome to do, just send it as another attachment and mark it up as to which hallmark it's relevant to. I think it's worth saying that in the bottom of the application form, each hallmark, it asks you what evidence you've attached or what's within the evidence. Referencing that back into the text with little numbers is really handy for the assessors, because they can then see exactly what evidence they're actually following within that. So the evidence is an attachment either to the Word document or within the online application. It gives you the option of attaching it. And if you have any problems at all with attaching evidence or with sending in the application form, give us a ring. We don't want to miss out because something got lost. So and when you apply, we will receipt the application. We'll get back to you within 24 hours, I think. to make sure that you know that we've got it. So if you apply and you don't hear back from us, give us a ring and say we've applied. In the first year, because some of the attachments were so big, some of them got lost in the ether, so we had to go and delve and find them. But if you don't hear back after you've applied, give us a call and just check out what's happened.
And there's one final one here that I would like us to clarify on. So someone was saying that so screenshots are okay to use for evidence, but photos aren't. I guess the answer, just to clarify that, if the photo tells a story, then you can absolutely screenshot it and include it in your evidence bit. The reason we said photos aren't allowed because in the past, organizations have just sent photos of people receiving awards. Now that doesn't really tell us much. If your photo tells a story, if you can, if it makes sense, if it means something, if it's relevant to this specific hallmark, then absolutely fine. You can snip it and include it in your evidence bit.
Thank you, Remi. Yeah, that's really helpful guidance on the use of photographs. Well, we've come to 12:30, and thank you again, all of you, for joining this webinar. Like I say, any other questions, please send them to the team, to Remi or to Laura, or to the info at Princess Royal, or help, sorry, get the right one, help@princessroyaltrainingwars.com. Very happy to answer those. Or if you'd like to have a chat with either Fenella or one of the other assessors or one of the team, then get in touch with us and we'll arrange a telephone call and a chat. So it only remains for me to thank Fenella. Thank you, Fenella, for all your input, valuable input. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Lovely to have you with us again, and thank you to Remi and my colleague Julia for all their hard work in making the webinar work. The Reminar, we'll have to call them. And thank you all for being on the call, and whatever help you need, please ask. Goodbye.